Hello, my name is Thea and I'm a training specialist at TomPit. In today's video, I'm going to talk about processes and their versions. The goal of this lesson is to learn what is a process, where to view, add and manage processes in the TomPit system, and the importance of having the option to input and manage processes and their versions directly through the system. Defining and managing production processes is important for ensuring efficiency and quality control in manufacturing. A well-structured process helps with operation, minimizes errors, and can potentially optimize resource utilization. Processes clearly outline each step in production, including which materials are used, what operations are performed, the required resources at each stage, and quality checks. Having the ability to directly define processes in a system brings flexibility and control to production management. By setting up and customizing operations within the system, companies can easily adapt their production workflow to meet specific needs or respond to changes. The option to create different versions of processes is especially valuable. It allows companies to continuously improve operations and test new variations. For instance, if a company develops a more efficient method for assembly, it can create a new process version while still retaining the original. For example, imagine a furniture manufacturing company that produces dining tables. They have a defined process for assembling the table, from cutting and sanding wood to varnishing and packaging. Over time, they find a faster way to assemble the legs using a new technique. By creating a new version of the process in the system, they can track and document this improved workflow while keeping the previous version intact. This ensures they have a record of process versions and can potentially revert to them if necessary. Now let's see how this works in TomPit. To define or manage a process, navigate to the production or maintenance domain, selecting management, and lastly the processes icon. The page displays all previously defined processes in the middle. You can filter the view by selecting the filters on the left. First, you can choose if you want to view enabled or disabled processes. The enabled processes will have a blue indication line left to the process code, while the disabled ones will have a gray one. You can filter them with a tag set directly on the process, for instance, processes that are set for production or maintenance. Furthermore, you can filter them by inputs and outputs that are defined on the processes. First, select the input type and then choose the input. Same goes for the outputs. You can also simplify the search process by filtering the view with the search bar at the top of the list. You can edit an already existing process by clicking on the blue code, which opens a form for editing. Change the information to your liking and enable or disable the process by selecting the checkbox on the top right corner of the form before selecting the Save button. To view the different versions set for the process, select the Versions button below the product's name. To inspect a specific version, select the blue code. In the top right corner of the form, you can mark if the version is enabled or disabled. This is important when certain versions are not valid anymore and need to be disabled to prevent further use. After editing the version, select the Save button. The line left to the version name indicates if the version is enabled or disabled. The blue line represents an active version, while the gray one indicates that the version is disabled. Now on to creating a new process. On the main page, select the blue Action button on the bottom right corner of the screen. Two options appear: copying an existing process or creating a new one. Select New and a form for editing will open. A process code is automatically generated, but you can change it to your liking. Input a name for the process. You can add a description if needed and a tag at the end. Selecting a production or maintenance tag will decide for what the process is intended. Keep in mind that if you do not add a production tag, the process will not appear on a production order. Select the Add button to create the new process. The system will redirect you back to the main page. If you want to copy an existing process, select the option from the Action button. When copying an existing process, the system generates a copy of the original process under a new code, copying all the versions, operations, quality control within these versions. Select which process you want to copy and add additional information if needed before selecting the Add button. You can add versions to the process by clicking the Versions button below the name. Adding a new version to the process follows the same path. Select the blue Action button on the bottom right corner of the screen. Choose the New option to open an editing form. You can change the version code if necessary, enter a name and add a description of the version or link an article to it if needed. These articles are predefined in the system and will appear during execution of this version of the process. The new version is automatically enabled, but in case you need to disable it, uncheck the box in the top of the form. Lastly, select the Add button at the bottom to confirm the entry of the version. You can add multiple versions and choose which are active or even log them to prevent further editing. This can be done by clicking the arrow left to the version's code, which will show an option to lock the version to disable additional changes. If a version is locked, the icon to the right will be a closed lock. You can later on add a quality check and further operations to the version through the button below the name. If you want to copy an already existing version, choose that option from the Action button and a form for copying will open. And with that, we conclude today's lesson on processes and versions. Let's summarize what we've learned in this video. You now know what processes are. You know where to find, view and manage processes and versions in the Tompit system, and you know the importance of having the option to input and manage processes and their versions directly through the system. I hope this video helped and I will see you in the next lesson.